Hey, this is Jack with Recipal, and we're going to go over when nutrition fact panels are required. We previously made a video that I'll link below that talked about all the requirements in food packaging, and we said that sometimes a nutrition fact panel could be optional, but we didn't really go into the details. Here we're going to break all of that down. We're going to let you know all the cases where you need to have a nutrition fact panel, the cases where it's optional, and why you might want one even if it's not required. Okay. So here's when you need a nutrition label. Number one, if you make any claim about the food product, for instance, high in fiber, low fat. Whenever you make a claim, you need a nutrition fact panel to back that up. And that could be a claim on the product itself or on your website. Number two, this one is based on sales. Businesses with more than $50,000 in food sales and $500,000 in total sales need to have nutrition labels on their products. Now, this is an and condition, so both of those things need to be true. If you had $53,000 in food sales and $498,000 in total sales, you would not need a nutrition fact panel. But here's the other thing that you need to consider. Any store that you want to sell your product in is also held by this standard. So almost any grocery store you would want your product in meets this sales threshold. If you want to sell in retail, most likely you'll need a nutrition fact panel. And finally, the third condition where you're required to have a nutrition fact panel is if you have more than 100 full-time employees or more than 100,000 units sold within 12 months. Now, this is an or condition, so if you have 101 employees or if you have 101,000 units sold, you're required to have a nutrition fact panel. Now, even though those are the hard requirements for needing a nutrition fact panel, most growing food brands actually take this on well before they meet those thresholds because it creates professionalism, promotes transparency, and can even just help sell the product. Okay, so on to the cases where you are not required to have a nutrition fact panel. You don't need a nutrition fact panel for raw fruits, vegetables, or fish, for foods that have insignificant amounts of all the required nutrients. So that's where they would be listed as 0 after the rounding, foods like tea, coffee, food coloring. You also are not required for small packages where the total surface area of the package available for labeling is less than 12 square inches. And then we have the two cases that we talked about before. So if you're a small business that has less than $50,000 of food sales, or less than $500,000 of total sales, then you're not required to have a nutrition fact panel. Also, if you're a low volume food product, so fewer than 100 full-time employees and fewer than 100,000 units of product per year, then you're exempt. Now, for this one, you need to be careful because if you have more than 10 full-time employees but less than 100, you actually need to file this with the FDA in order to be eligible for this exemption. And you also need to remember that if you ever make a nutritional claim about your product on your website, on your packaging, or in your ads, then you're required to have a nutrition label. Again, even if you're not yet required to have a nutrition fact panel, I think the adage of dress for the job you want, not the one you have, holds true. Nutrition fact panels help you create transparency and set you up for future growth. While creating nutrition fact panels might seem intimidating, it's actually really easy with Recipal.com. Within minutes, you can have an FDA-compliant nutrition label based on the recipe of your product. Just go to Recipal.com and get started for free.